Let's start at the very beginning before Iron Man ever graced a comic page. Iron Man was created by the infamous Stan Lee, who co-created and created most of the A-list characters in the Marvel Universe, like Spider-Man, the Hulk, X-Men, Thor, and many, many more. Stan actually thought up Iron Man after already having a huge success in previous years with creations such as the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and the Hulk. The idea came to him in a time where young people hated war. They hated the military-industrial complex. They just hated everything about war. So Stan was like, well, I'm going to come up with a character that represents everything everybody hates and shove it down their throats.
I'm going to come up with a character who represents everything everybody hates, and I'm going to shove it down their throats.
See, I wasn't lying. He actually did say that. So he came up with a guy who manufactured armaments and was a multi-billionaire playboy. Stan said he fashioned him a little bit after Howard Hughes, which you can definitely tell and see the similarities. After, he also knew he had to give him an Achilles heel like the rest of the characters in the Marvel Universe. So he gave Tony Stark a weak heart, and the rest is history. Iron Man eventually made his first appearance in Tales of Suspense issue 39 in March of 1963. As for the Armored Avengers origin, I'm going to sum it up for you guys as best as my little heart knows how. Tony Stark was born to Howard Anthony Stark and Maria Stark, owners of the prominent US firm Stark Industries. As a boy, Tony was fascinated with building and controlling machines. At age 15, Tony entered the undergraduate electrical engineering program at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, also known as MIT, or as I call it, the We Don't Accept Stupid People School of Technology, and graduated with 2 master's degrees by age 19. After graduating, Tony went to work for Stark Industries, but showed more interest in boobies and just living an all-around reckless playboy lifestyle rather than using his engineering skills. At the age of 21, Tony inherited Stark Enterprises when his parents were killed in a car accident that he would later find out was secretly orchestrated by a rival corporation, Republic Oil, later renamed Roxxon Oil. Still lacking in business skills, Tony promoted Secretary Virginia Pepper Potts to be his executive assistant and left the majority of his workload on her so that he could avoid what he saw as a burden. And I bet a lot of you guys didn't know her first name was Virginia, but now you do, and knowing's half the battle. As for how Tony became Iron Man, he was at one of his munition plants testing new technology for the military when he was injured by his own landmine that lodged shrapnel near his heart. Tony was then captured by local warlord Wan Chu, who worked for the manager and forced Tony under threat of death to create a doomsday weapon for him with another captive, the famed Nobel Award-winning physicist Yin Sen. The shrapnel was gonna enter his heart and kill him, but he and the physicist created a arc reactor, that glowing mechanism in the center of his chest, which keeps the shrapnel away from his heart, keeping Stark alive. In secret, Stark and Yin Sen designed and constructed a suit of powered armor, the Mark I, which Stark uses to escape. But during the escape attempt, Yin Sen sacrifices his life to save Stark by distracting the enemy. Stark then uses the suit to take revenge on the kidnappers, and boom, Iron Man was born. Iron Man would also eventually go on to help form and be a founding member of one of the most known and popular superhero teams in all of comics, the Avengers. In Avengers issue 1, which debuted in September of 1963. Iron Man is also one of the few characters who's been pretty much a member of all incarnations of the Avengers, such as New Avengers and the Mighty Avengers. Over time, Marvel evolved Tony into a more complex and vulnerable individual, as his dual lifestyle as a superhero caused him numerous personal problems. He became the victim of corporate takeovers and would lose and rebuild his fortune multiple times. In the 70s, Tony would also eventually be led to an alcohol addiction when he discovered that S.H.I.E.L.D., who he had previously supported, was seeking to buy controlling stocks in his company in order to ensure Stark's continued weapons development for them. This was actually a really big deal and controversial at the time, as he was one of the first superheroes to have an alcohol problem. Stark later became bankrupt and homeless when he lost his company to his rival Obadiah Stane, who had been manipulating him for some time. During this event, Tony's friend James Rhodes, or just Rhodey, who would later become War Machine, took on the mantle of Iron Man, while Stark would begin rebuilding his fortune. Obviously, Stark eventually took back the Iron Man mantle, but when Stark took back the mantle, he came back with the new armor he was developing, the Silver Centurion armor, which he used to battle Stane in his Ironmonger suit. Speaking of Iron Man armors, what is Iron Man without his armor?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Oh, right. Anyway, let's talk about his armors. Iron Man has had more armor since its creation than I could probably even count. He's had the Mark I, the Mark II, Classic Armor, Proto-Classic Armor, Hulkbuster Armor, Thorbuster Armor, Stealth Armor, Extremis Armor, Bleeding Edge Armor, and that's just to name a few. As for his abilities, like I've mentioned before on the show, he's an inventive genius and just plain out one of the smartest minds in the Marvel Universe, up there with Hank Pym and Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four. And of course, he has suits of armor that pretty much allow him to do almost anything. But now you guys are probably like, Eris, you've told us about his creation, his origin, and all around info on the character, but I want some good Iron Man reading material. Well, to you I say, here you go. You have Armor Wars, which takes place in Iron Man 225 through 232, Tony Stark vs. Obadiah Stane in Iron Man 163 through 200, Iron Man Extremis, the Civil War storyline, Demon in a Bottle in Iron Man 120 through 128, the beginning of the End story arc in Iron Man 17 through 23, 10 Rings to Rule the World in Iron Man 95 through 100, and even the Avengers vs. X-Men storyline. All those can also be found in trade paperback form, so you guys don't have to worry about tracking down all those individual issues. But yes, those are just a few recommendations to get you guys started who are looking to read some good Iron Man stories. As for what the Armored Avenger is up to most currently in the comic books, Tony Stark has decided that the Earth is not safe anymore without him learning more from what's in the final frontier. So he has taken his new suit enhanced with the artificial intelligence named Pepper and has joined Peter Quill in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Marvel most likely did this because of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as we are getting a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and it will most likely be crossing over into future Avengers films and the rest of the Marvel movies. So this is probably their way of getting us all used to that idea for the movies. Netflix streams TV shows and movies directly to your home, saving you time, money, and hassle. As a Netflix member, you can instantly watch TV episodes and movies streaming directly to your PC, Mac, or right to your TV with your Xbox 360, PS3, or Nintendo Wii console, plus Apple devices, Kindle, and Nook. You can get a free 30-day trial membership by going to www.netflix.com/variants and signing up now. Did you know Spider-Man's black costume was conceived by a fan and bought by Marvel? The black costume stemmed from an idea submitted by a then 22-year-old fan named Randy Schuler, after Marvel in 1982 had asked its readers for ideas for new Spider-Man stories. Schuler's idea was purchased by Jim Shooter for only $220, so one of my favorite Spider-Man storylines, costumes, and even Venom would have never existed if not for this 22-year-old fan. So to you, Schuler, I say thank you. First up for Wednesday, May 1st, we have Earth 2, Issue 12. The drums of war begin to sound as the heroes of Earth 2 rally behind Dr. Fate, and the threat of apocalypse becomes all too real. Next, we have Green Arrow, Issue 20. Komodo and the Outsiders have destroyed Green Arrow's life, but how far will Ollie fall before he's forced to take desperate measures? Here we have Detective Comics Issue 20. The Superman transformation of Engageness Oguvi is just the tip of the iceberg when an extremely unexpected character comes to the Penguin's aid. Now we have Action Comics Issue 20. Superman battles an enemy of his own making in the Horrible Hybrid, but what does Lex Luthor have in store for the Man of Steel and the people of Metropolis? Next we have Superior Spider-Man Issue 9. Apparently this issue will get you angrier than you were after Spidey 700. The time has come to see who will live, who will die, and who will emerge as the one true Superior Spider-Man. And here we have All New X-Men Issue 11. One of the All New X-Men leaves to join Cyclops and his crew. Jean Grey pushes her power to the limit, shaking her and the rest of the X-Men to the core. And finally, we have Snapshot Issue 4. It all ends here as the awful truth behind the multi-million-dollar conspiracy is revealed. With deadly consequences, if young Jake is to survive, what kind of man must he become? And is it worth the price?